Test. 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 Hey guys, I put up a video a couple days ago on how to make transparent model background images, and that video just went kind of crazy. And then not too long after that, I put up a couple of splash screens on the RCVR website, and man, I'll tell you what, these I've only made a couple, and I had a lot of fun making them, but these things have been getting downloaded like crazy off of the website. So I mean, there's been a couple thousand hits on these images already. So I thought I'd come in today, and just because there seems to be an appetite for it, I thought I'd just do a little live stream and do a video on how to make your own splash screens and how to make your own wallpapers, because it's really easy to do. And the only real problem I found with it is that OpenTx can be a little particular about it. It can be a little particular about making sure things like the resolution and the DPI are correct. So I've made images in the past. Oh, hey Doug. So I've made images in the past that look like they met the criteria for a wallpaper or a background, but they didn't work on the radio. So that seems to be the trickiest part of the whole thing. And then if you haven't done any graphics editing before, when you get into these pieces of software, it can look kind of intimidating too. But I think the best thing to do is just play around with it. And I'm going to admit right up front, I'm not a graphics expert. I am absolutely not a graphics expert. I have an eye for what looks good, and I tinker with software a lot. So if you guys watch this and you are a graphics person, you go, oh my gosh, this guy is like a monkey. It's true. I just kind of work my way through things. That's the best way I can put it. So in order to do this, and I covered this in the last video too, I like using paint.net for these videos because it's free. And on the channel, when I work in graphics, I use paid software. I don't use the free stuff. And that's not meant to be a commentary on the free stuff. It's just that when I started working on RC video reviews, I decided I needed some really good software, so I bought it. Anyway, paint.net works really well for this purpose though. There's no problems. And paint.net also seems to do a better job putting out a format that my radio likes than my paid software, for whatever that's worth. So it's probably just something I haven't figured out yet, but paint.net seems to work really well for the radio. Anyway, I'll put the URL in the description. In fact, it's already in the description. So if you need paint.net, check the URL. And here's a look at it. You just grab paint.net and download it. And then from there, I think the next thing to talk about really quickly is clip art. It really helps if you want to start monkeying around with this kind of stuff to get your own clip art and build up a little library. And as you can see on the screen, I've went out and collected up a few different backgrounds and some model images and some channel art that I've used. I've got the US flag. So I've got a couple different things I can tinker with for an example. And then before I do an actual splash screen, I want to show you guys one kind of cool little trick. And that's, notice my TX16 over here on the right. I've got that sitting inside a laundry basket. And I did that for a very specific reason. And I'm going to show you what it was, because I have a feeling you guys are going to see more and more of this kind of thing on the channel graphics. You know what I mean? I'll put them in the thumbnails and stuff like that. But I'm going to open this TX16s that's sitting there in my laundry basket. And then check this out. When I did the background removal video for making model images, this was the technique I was using. So I put it, now if I had like a green background, that'd be even better. But the radio is very black and this basket was very white. So by putting the radio in the basket like that, I could really easily just go in here and click and look how much of that background I take out right away. And I'm not going to do the whole thing because I've kind of already covered this in the prior video, but I will show you guys, like, look at how much of this background I can take off of this radio in just a click. So that's gone. And then I can you know, highlight this stuff over here on this side and highlight this stuff over here on this side. And you see right away I've got a pretty good background or transparent image that I can use in graphics. And you can use this in your wallpaper too. In fact, I'll do one so you can see what I'm talking about. But I've already got that work done on this image, so you can see when I open this one up, I've got a nice little transparent background TX16s. In fact, that's the image that I used in the thumbnail for this video. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that to give you an idea that you don't have to use clip art if there's something that you want for your wallpaper. It could be, you know, like a picture of one of your kids, you know, or your car or your favorite airplane. It doesn't matter. The whole point is that you get these little clip art bits, and that's what will help you make an interesting wallpaper. Okay, the second thing that I did was I opened up Paint, and Paint is on every Windows computer, and I just took a canvas and I resized it to the size that's needed for these background images, and that size is 480 by 272, and uncheck maintain aspect ratio, because if you don't, then it'll change on you. But anyway, set it to 272 and 480 by 272, and then you hit OK and just save that. And what that does is that gives you a canvas, so to speak, to work on. So if you put a canvas in 480 by 272 white, now whenever you start your work, you'll know that you've got a canvas that's going to work with your radio. And I've got mine right here. This says whiteboard. So what I'll do now, we're going to start making the background. Now when I click on whiteboard and I get into paint.net, that's my canvas for my wallpaper and my background. Okay, so you can zoom in on this by hitting the control key and scrolling with your mouse, and you can zoom in. And there's also a little zoom down here on the bottom right. You see this on the bottom right down here? You can zoom that canvas in and out. But the reason I do that out front is because that gives me, first off, the right aspect ratio for the final product. So if you don't have that when you start, then you have to resize it to fit on your radio. You can find out that all your images get skewed, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm just gonna add a piece of clip art from the library. I'm gonna pick this one. So this is the way the artist intended for this image to look. And if you don't have your canvas set right before you start and you have to crop it to fit, you could wind up doing something like that. And that looks terrible. That's not the correct look for that plane. Or you could wind up doing something like that. So you wind up skewing things. That's why I do the little canvas first. I do a 480 by 272 white background, and that gives me the canvas that I'm working with. It's just like, think about, I guess the best way to think about it is think about if you were going to paint a painting, right? You gotta start with a canvas first. If you didn't do that, you know, you don't know what you're going to wind up with. So anyway, that's the idea with the canvas. So 480 by 272, and that applies for both the wallpapers that you use in the themes, and it applies for the splash image as well. So it's the same for both. Okay, now that we've done a little bit of work talking about clip art, we've talked about getting our canvas set up so that we can put our majestic wallpaper together. There's one other thing I'm going to show you, and it's text. And I haven't quite cracked the code on text yet on paint.net, but what I'm going to do is show you how to apply text. And again, I haven't cracked the code on this yet. I'm still kind of tinkering with it. But if you come over here to the toolbar, and you see that text icon, first thing you do is make sure you have your color that you want for text selected. So let's just say for this time I want blue. Then I'm going to hit the little text logo, and then you got to come up here on the top bar and set the font that you want to use. And I like this little ink free. I kind of like that one. And then set the size that you want to work with. So let's say 36, and let's say the text that I want says, we'll do RC pilot at work. Okay, that's obviously too long, but it's okay because I can squeeze that, or I can change the font. So let's change the font size and bring that down just a little bit. Make it 24. Oh, you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. The other thing I learned about text is you kind of want to put it on a transparent layer. So if you haven't used layers before, it's time to learn. Add a layer, and you can see I've got this layer 2. It's just a transparent layer. And then I can add the text. It works better that way, because then if you want to delete it, you can. So we'll do RC pilot at work. There we go. Now that looks pretty good. And what I'll do with that now is I'm going to deselect. And when I say deselect, I'm saying hit the escape key. So you hit escape, and that will deselect the thing that you're working on. And once you've deselected it, then you can move it around on the screen. So now I can move that RC pilot at work just became its own image. So once you've done that, it's no longer text. And that's what I mean by I haven't cracked the code yet. In a lot of other editing software that I use, you can go back and edit text later. In this one, I haven't found a way to edit the text after the fact. So for that reason, you know, and it's no big deal. If you don't like what you did, you just delete it. It's not that big of a deal. And that's another reason to use layers. If you don't like what you see on a layer, you can just delete the layer and it's gone. So anyway, here we go. We've got RC Pilot at work. And another thing I want to point out, you see me moving it around on the screen. I can make it a little smaller if I want, just by, because it's an image, right? It's no longer text, it's an image. And then another pro tip that I'm going to show you is that, here, check this out. If you grab one of these little sidebars and you move it, you see how the image is changing its aspect ratio? And if you don't want to do that, you can simply hold down the shift key and then grab a corner control. And when you move that corner control, this image will maintain its aspect ratio. You can't screw it up. It'll maintain its aspect ratio just by holding the shift key. And it'll get smaller or bigger depending on how you move that corner. But by holding the shift key, you maintain your aspect ratio and you don't distort the text. And then one other quick little thing, let's say we want to just to add a little interest. You see how if I move my mouse over the corner of the controls up here, I can use the mouse and drag and turn the text. I can rotate it straight up and down. I can put a little angle, whatever you want. So let's just say that we're going to do, yeah, it's a little bit of a Windows lesson. That's right, Doug. But you know, when you're doing graphics, it can be really frustrating if you don't know these tricks, because you try and do these modifications to an image and it never, you know, the aspect ratio changes or something gets overlapped. It can be very frustrating. So that's why I'm just throwing those tips out there in case people don't know. But anyway, there you go. You can rotate your text around, and there we go. We've got RC Pilot at work. And then let's see, let's add another layer. Let's add an image this time. And I'm just going to do import from file. I think that's the easiest way that I've found to add a layer and an image at the same time. And then we'll just go down and say, let's say I want this little RC plane. So I'll add the RC plane, and I'm going to hold my shift key and resize it. And then I'm going to move it where I want it. And I'm going to rotate this just a little bit, just a touch. There we go. Okay. So now that's not for a, but the problem is when you start navigating around, because it's a wallpaper, when you start getting into other screens for your radio, oh, and I can't do it because I've got it plugged in. Here, let me unplug it. So when you start navigating around to other screens on your radio, that becomes very distracting. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with these backgrounds on the radios is that they try and do too much. They try and make it too interesting. And by doing that, it becomes very distracting. So yeah, it's a nice wallpaper, but you know, look at that. I can't see the letters that are important to me on my output screen. So that's, to me, that's not a good background. That's not a good one because it's distracting. So one of the ways we can deal with that in the editing software is with a technique called opacity. And by adjusting the opacity of an image, we can show that the image is there, but we kind of draw down the intensity. So I'm going to double click on this layer, and when I do that, you see this opacity slider pops in. And I'm going to move the box out of the way so we can see what happens. Oops, I better make the radio small so you guys can see again. Oops, give me 1 second. Okay, let me backpedal a little bit so you can see it. Okay, so this airplane, that's a nice looking airplane, but the problem is that it's very intense. And because it's very intense, it's not going to look good as a background. So I'm going to fix that by double clicking the layer. And when I double click the layer, I've got this opacity slider, and I can just slide it down. I'll move this. I'm going to shut this phone up here. I'm just going to move the opacity slider down a little bit, and you can see that, you see what's happening there? The image is still there, but we're taking some of the intensity out. We're making it more like a, it's kind of like a soft pencil sketch, I guess. So we just slide that down and slide it down, and there we go. We got a nice little soft pencil sketch. And we can do the same thing on our text as well. We can turn the opacity down on that the same way, just by double clicking the layer and sliding the slider down. So there we go. Now we've got a little airplane image on there. We've got some text on there. And then we can make one other modification. We can make one other modification and add another layer. I'm going to add a flag. So do an import from file. I'm just going to pick this little flag 3 here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make it a little less opaque, turn that down a little bit. But now you see the problem is that my flag is on top of my model, and maybe I don't want that. Maybe that's, to me, that's a bad look. Now the thing you do to fix that is you come over here to layers, and you can just drag this flag layer down. You see how I'm just dragging this down below the plane? Now the plane pops up on top of the flag. And I can do the same thing with the text. I can move it down, but it's still a little bit blurry. So I might have to go in the airplane and turn the opacity back up on that a little bit. And you can see how the plane is now clearly on top of the flag. Okay, so next thing I'll do, because I don't want this great big monstrosity of colors and sizes on this setup, is I'm going to go back to my flag, and I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. I just don't want it to be that big. So I'll just grab the corner here and drag it down, and we'll move it a little bit, and I'm going to adjust the opacity a little bit more, just slide it down some more. Okay, there we go. So there's a background. All right. Now let me show you how to put the background into the radio so you can see it on the radio. The next step is I'm going to check and make sure our canvas size is correct, and it's not. It's off a little bit because I moved this image outside the canvas area. So we have to resize the image again and make sure it's 480 by 272 and then 72 pixels per inch. What happened there? It didn't work. Let me try it again. I think that I had a selection selected, so I'm going to try it again. 480. You got to turn that aspect ratio off. 272 and 72 pixels, and there we go. There's my resized image. Now I'm going to point out something. Notice what happened to the text. The text got, this is another little thing that I've learned working with paint.net that I'll help you out on. That text just got all kinds of, it looks like chalk, and I don't like that. So I'm going to undo that resize by hitting Control Z and go back to my original piece. And I'm just going to save it as a background. And I'm going to put it in a different folder because I don't want it mixed up with my clip art. And we'll do a flag plane. Oops, I saw that. I had it saved as a PDN file. We'll do flag plane, but we don't want this PDN. We want it as a PNG file. It was trying to get me there. Okay, flag plane PNG, and we'll save that and hit OK. And now, yeah, it wants to flatten it. Now we're going to go back to that working background and we'll reopen it. So I've got flag plane PNG, right? Where is it? It's right there. Nope, that's a paint.net. Did I do it twice? It looks like I did it twice. I fell for it twice. Okay. We want to save this as a PNG. So File, Save As. It's got to be a PNG. Oh, it says I already had it. I don't know why I'm having a problem seeing it. Great, flatten. Okay. Flag plane. I don't know what's going on here. One of these two has to be a PNG. Let's see, properties, PNG. It just relabels it for some reason. That's stupid. Okay, so click on flag plane, and now we can resize it. So image, resize, and now we'll do the 480 by 272. And when we do that, 72 ppi, we'll see that it'll resize it this time without distorting our text. I don't really know what the deal is with that, but it's just what it's doing. So there we go. We got our flag plane is done now. We'll just hit File, Save. You don't have to export it or anything. Just hit File, Save. And now that we've got that done, we can put it on the radio. So I'll bring up the. Oh, I got to plug the radio back in because I unplugged it. So plug this in. And we're going, here's the trick on the backgrounds. If you're going to save it as a background, you click on themes, and I'm using the default theme right now. So I'm going to click on default, and then notice in this window, I have background copy and background. The background that is on there right now is the one that's on the plane, and the copy was the stock photo. So I'm just going to find my flag plane. There it is, PNG file. I'm going to rename it. We want to rename it background. It wants to rename it background too because I already have a background in there. Rename plane. Okay. Background. Okay, now we can drag it over to our themes folder under default and let it go. And when we do that, we are prompted to replace the one that's there. We'll hit yes. And then over on the radio, let's see if I can get the radio to be bigger for you so you can see it again. When I unplug the radio now, you just see that background change over to the one we just made. Yeah, it might need a reboot to reload that background. So let's try that real quick. Yeah, there it is. So I don't know how well that's coming in, but I can see the plane and the flag. Now that to me is maybe a little too soft. So that might need some adjustment. Might have to go in and change that up a little bit and increase the opacity, but you get the idea, right? And then the same thing goes for splash screens. It's all the same process, except when you save this one, if you want to use the same background and splash screen, you can do that. But the trick is when you save this one, it goes under the images folder of the radio. So I'll plug the radio back in and I'll show you. Plug the radio back in, and I'm going to make the window for the radio just a little smaller, and then show you that if you just click on images right here, you're looking for a file called splash.png. So here's my current splash screen. And if I want to overwrite that, I can just rename this to something else. We'll call it we'll call this splash. I don't know. I think I got a bunch of them on here. We'll call it splash 6. Now, if I want to use that same background that I just made as my splash screen, we just drag that into the images folder. And instead of background, we'll name that splash. And that's it. I'll unplug the radio and do a quick reboot. Make the radio screen a little bigger for you. Okay, there it is. Again, not easy to see. And for a splash screen, you probably want brighter stuff. I know I did. I picked definitely brighter stuff for the splash screen. Well, so that's it. There we go. We now know how to make custom splash screens and backgrounds for OpenTx Radios. If any of you are in front of a computer and you'd like something customized, send me an email, john@rcvideoreviews.com, and I'll work on it. I would only do that during the live stream. I'm not suggesting after the fact to get a whole bunch of different emails for custom custom splash screen requests. But if you guys have anything you'd like to see me work on while we're on the live stream, go ahead and send me a note. Hey, Drone Days, how you doing? All right. Anybody have any requests on seeing something done in paint.net, or is that all pretty clear to you? I'll show you how I did. I'll show you how I did some of the ones that I put on RC Video Reviews, and you should check these out if you want a splash screen. I've got some good ones there, but to make those, they were so easy, and I was actually having a lot of fun doing that. You just go and pick one of these little backgrounds and open it with paint.net, or in my case, I was using my paid software. But you can just come in and start doing stuff. You can import a layer from a file, and you can do, let's see, where to go? Clip art. You can say, I want that little P47 on there, and you can pop a P47 in there, and then just, put your text in, or do whatever you want. It was really simple to do, and a lot of fun to make those. I think, Oyvind, thank you. You're welcome. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm not sure what that symbol represents in English, so I hope I pronounced it correctly. But yeah, and then you can put your text in. You can say, well, I want to put text in that says, oh, do the layer. Don't forget to do the layer when you start doing text. So put a layer in, and then pick your text that you want, and the color. Let's see, this is a dark blue background, so white would actually probably be pretty good, or maybe a little touch of blue. And then you come in and say, oh, where is it going? It didn't show up. This is what I mean about cracking the code on text on this. I haven't cracked the code on the text yet. That should work, though. I don't know why that's not working. OE. That's OE. I do not know why that's not working. Let's see if I get rid of some of this other stuff, if I can make it work. Text. Yeah, what the heck, man? Why is this not showing up? Is opacity too low? Nope. That's what I mean, man. The text on this it's a little challenging. I'll admit. I'm not sure. Maybe it was because it was on a transparent background. Maybe that was the problem. Yeah, that works. Let's try it again. We'll do an import. I'm going to add. I've got my layer for text. Now I'm going to do a layer for the background wallpaper. I think I was working with this blue one. And then let me try putting my text on this layer again. Nope, look at that. Still. Oh, it's because it's too dark. Wow, oh, it's black. That's why. All right, we can fix that. There we go. I got it to show up finally. Okay. Now we can import our layer, or our airplane, our P47, and then we've got our text up there and our P47. There you go. That should give you guys the idea. Hopefully that gives you the idea. So you just you just work with these layers over here on the right. By the way, if you want to delete a layer or add one, these little controls down here do that. So if you say, well, this P47, you click on that P47 and say, nah, I don't want that one. I want to get rid of that. You can, it's real easy. Just click on the layer and delete it. And then you come back up here to layers and do another import. So you say, well, I'd rather have, I don't know, we'll pick the flag. So there you go. Maybe you'd rather have the flag in there instead. So that's how you do that. Real simple, real simple. Adakor Ramen. Hello, welcome to the live stream. So anyway, there you go. And then you manage your layers with this little box on the side. So you can turn them on or off if you want to see what it looks like without a layer. If you want to turn them back on, you just put a check mark in there. And if you decide you don't like one, you simply just click on it and hit remove and take it out and it's gone. That's it. So the keys are to this. Make sure when you're making your images, here are the keys. You probably want to screen grab this one and save it or write it down somewhere. But you're looking for 480 by 272 and 72 ppi for the pixels per inch for the, and that's for the splash screens and wallpaper or backgrounds, I guess they call them on OpenTx. So splash screens and wallpaper and backgrounds are 480 by 272 and 72 ppi. And then I've got the sizes right here. The model images are 192 by 108 at 72 ppi. So those are the numbers you need to remember if you want to make your own images. And then PNG format, and I think they use BMP as well. I'm not sure if they use JPG or not, but what I do know is that the PNG format works really well. And they're a little bigger, but who cares? I don't care. Hey Dooley, how you doing? So that's it. Do you guys have any questions about the software or layers or specifications for the backgrounds or anything at all? Or where to put them, where to save them on the radio? Everybody get that? All right. Well, I don't see any questions and I didn't get any email. Let me check email real quick. Let's see. Nope, no email requests. So, well, I guess that's it for that topic. You guys have any other things that you want to talk about? Any questions? I don't know if you watched the live stream I did yesterday on the momentary switch, but the network connection was really bad and it caused all kinds of issues with the video. But at the end, we did get that ESC to pop, which was fun. Scared the devil out of me. I got it to pop by applying voltage. That was a lot of fun. It was actually pretty cool. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but that live stream is up if you want to check that out. It was way at the end, like 50 minutes in or 52 minutes in, somewhere in there. So that was fun. All right, well, that pretty much covers what I had. I don't really see any questions coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and end this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you're not a subscriber, please join the channel. It's easy to hit the subscribe button and leave a like if you found the information useful. But there you go. You're now armed and know how to make your own custom splash screens and wallpapers for the OpenTx Radiomaster TX16s, and it'll work on the Jumper T18 and the T16 as well. And it'll probably work on other radios like Horus, but I think you have to go dig up the specs for the screen size on those. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. But the techniques would work the same way. All the graphics editing techniques, that would all work the same way. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciated your company and look forward to the next live stream, which will be Friday at 19:30 Eastern. Every Friday, 19:30, we'll do a larger scheduled group stream. All right, that's all I've got for today, guys. Take it easy. Thanks for joining.